Welcome, Tosh, and welcome to part two. Here we are. So we're in 2024. At the end of my last video, I started to kind of like skip a little bit forward into 2024. So I just want to go back to the switch in having the modification. No, it wasn't modification. Now I'm getting to today and getting all mixed up. So let's go back. 2024, it's 2026. This is 2 years ago now. So 2024, the boys' dad starts taking them every other weekend. And I start having a little bit of freedom. I started dating. I started making some friends, doing things for me for the first time in over a decade. And there was something about that that was really necessary. Although I missed the boys, although I wasn't sure how they were being cared for, there was something really good in me for the first time being able to step outside of motherhood and learn how to be me. Because really, within my marriage, all I had to hold on to was being a mom. Now, something that started to happen was the boys' behavior started to change, specifically my middle child. By August, I was calling crisis. I was calling the police because crisis wouldn't come see him because he was being violent. Behaviors were changing. I was going to sporting events. I had touched on this in my last video, and the boys weren't talking to me. They were scared to even really look at me if they were with their dad. Their dad was saying negative things about me right in front of me to them, and I was concerned. I was talking to a friend one day about this, and she said, "Did you know that there's a word for what you're going through?" And I said, "There is." And she's like, "Yeah, it's called parental alienation." And I had never heard of it. So I looked it up, and like every key point nailed it, hit it. It was exactly what I was experiencing. So I went to my lawyer, I went to the boys' therapist, I told them, I said, "This is what I think I'm dealing with, this is what's happening," and I didn't get a response. It was really disheartening because I had finally had a word, a definition for what was going on, and that felt like it was a starting point to a solution and getting help. And yet nothing really came from that. So my middle child ended up getting into in-home therapy where it was a little bit more intense, and he was working on specific coping skills around the behaviors that were increasing. And I started talking to that therapist about it, telling him the concerns, showing him text messages, continuously talking about it. Hey, this is happening, that's happening. I wasn't completely silent, although I've said that I've stayed silent. I think mostly because it felt like I was silent because I was talking to uh, dead air. Nothing was coming back. Nothing was helping. Nobody was listening. And I didn't know what to do because I didn't know how to manage this. I'm a mom. I'm not somebody that knows how to navigate dealing with these type of things. And the children's behaviors were increasing, so things were more difficult at home. It was more stressful. It was harder to just do the normal daily routines of life. It still is to this day, which we'll get to. By the fall into the winter of 2025, now we hit 2025, the behaviors are increasing. All the children are starting to say things to me that sound really strange. A couple times they call me by my first name. Mostly my middle child, I believe, would call me by my middle name. And I mean, I didn't just sit there and take it. I was like, "No, you don't talk to me that way." I continuously set boundaries, and it was constant work and effort just to get through a day without having to call crisis or the police or something crazy happening. And again, I was still healing. So in the fall of 2024, right, I keep skipping. I had gone to the trauma therapy that I write about in some of my blogs, in my journal blog. So that was amazing. And I received a lot from that. I was also still going through a lot. So it hadn't ended, but I was doing much better. There were so many happy moments. I was spending more intentional time with the boys. There were some really good things. We went to a soccer tournament for my second oldest, and we had so much fun. I have so many pictures from that weekend. The boys just enjoyed it so much, everything about it. We just went exploring and did cool things. We were in Kittery, Maine and in New Hampshire. It was just awesome. It was an amazing weekend. That's at the end of March of 2025. And then April of 2025, it was my middle child's birthday, and I have pictures of us at the park having fun on April 20th. April 21st comes, and we have a meeting with our lawyers, and there's some immediate accusations. I'm called delusional. The lawyers shut down the meeting. 2 days later, the boys are going to their dad's for April vacation. So he had requested to have them over February vacation, but he was working. And I said, that doesn't make sense. Why would they go to your house just to be watched by your family when I'm home? Or they could be with their friends. They could be at camp with their friends, playing and swimming and doing things. Or they could be sitting in front of TV with people that really aren't in the age and health to be caring for them appropriately. It didn't make sense. So I said no. And of course, the boys were upset because if anyone knows anything about parental alienation and that kind of thing, I know you're not supposed to use that terminology. It's such a no-no to use that, just like narcissism. You can't say those words, right? They're not words that are accepted. If you say it, then there must be something wrong with you. And I also think that's intentional. So why is that? Well, it's because it's not, the terms aren't overused in the world. They're overused by the abusive people themselves, because the abusive, or what we call now coercive controllers, they accuse of what they are. So they're going around accusing everybody that they're doing these things and they are these things. And then it makes these titles unhelpful. Now we can't use those titles, because if we use those titles, then they don't really have any definition, because there's so many people now being accused of these things. So I have all kinds of theories and thoughts and opinions on all of it. For a lack of, not really lack of, but just to make things simple and non-complicated, I'm just using the terminology that everyone understands and knows, whether you agree with it or don't agree with it, whether it's overused or not, or you call it something else, that's fine, but these are the terms that I'm using. So where am I at? April vacation. Of course, he tells the boys that he took time off work and they can spend extra time with him on April vacation before talking to me. I already said no in February. So now I'm in a position where if I say no again, then mom's denying us access to our dad, mom's not letting us go to dad's, all these things that start coming at me. So I was like, okay, they can go see you from Wednesday to Sunday. It was his weekend anyways. They were going to be there Friday to Sunday. They can go Wednesday and have 2 extra days. And that was going to be the longest time I'd ever spent away from them. So this is Wednesday, April 23rd of 2025. Without my knowledge, I had no idea this was happening. On Wednesday, by 10 a.m., a police report had already been generated that I was beating my children. On Thursday, the therapist had been arranged to go meet with the children at their father's house, and reports of abuse were made. And then on Friday, the 25th, the boy's dad went to court to file a restraining order against me for all 5 children. So they left my house on Wednesday morning, happy as could be. I love you, hugs, kisses. Thought they were coming home on Sunday. And immediately all these things happened. My boys had never once voiced any concern regarding me. They never had any issues ever. They were all in sports except for the littlest one. He was 3. We were out in the community 6-7 days a week, almost year round, for different sports or Cub Scouts or whatever. There was nothing found on me as far as evidence that there were ever any issues, any physical issues, anything. But once the allegations went in, the DCF report gets started, and the court rejected the request for restraining orders, but gave over parenting time to the father, which meant that I had no access to my children. I didn't get to say bye to them. I had a 3-year-old. I didn't get to hug. I nursed him till 2.5. He was only 3.5. He was very attached to me. He still is, as they all are. And he didn't even get to say bye. Apparently, the boys were told immediately that they were living with their father, because in the DCF investigation, they all said that they're living with their dad now. He had temporary parenting time until a court date. They weren't living with him. He actually never had full physical and legal custody. He only had temporary orders for custody. But they were told from the beginning that they were now living with daddy. You can imagine that children, in order to survive and care for themselves, would need to do what they need to do if they think that they're now living with this other parent. So anyways, I lost my children that day for 6 months. For 6 months, the 4 older ones almost fully denied me. Phone calls, text messages, visits. It's really interesting because I'm out in the woods, so I'm like feeling like little bugs crawling on me. And there might be. I wanted to come out in nature to do this. Just felt better. I do apologize too for jumping back and forth, but again, I just need to be authentic in this. I just need to talk. I don't need a timeline or a script, because then this becomes a script. It becomes something that I planned and something that I want to highlight this or I want to highlight that. And that's not what I'm looking to do. I'm not here to paint a picture. I'm just here to be real and talk about what happened. Okay. May 20th, we go to court. I thought for sure my boys were coming home with me that day. I had the proof that I had sought DV help multiple times throughout the marriage. I had filed for divorce prior. I had a restraining order against him that me and the 3 older boys were on, because the 2 youngest weren't born yet. I was like, this is a piece of cake. Once this judge talks to me, she's going to see the reality. I mean, I didn't know she was a she at the time, but I had no doubt I was walking out of that courtroom with my boys. Instead, I walked out of that courtroom with full physical and legal custody temporarily being given to the father. So the boys are denying me for all these visits, and I'm digging in. I'm joining support groups. I'm gaining help. I'm online. Anyone that's on my Facebook sees what I've been posting, because this is what I've been digging into for the last year. I am starting to discover that there are thousands and thousands of other parents, protective, healthy, fit, qualified parents, who are going through the same exact thing that I'm going through, not just in the United States, but in other countries as well. And of course, I have my theories as to why this is happening and what's going on, but that's not really something I want to bring into this video. This is more just what happened. I'm also still in court, and it's just not the time or place to be sharing any of that. But I'm hearing story after story, mothers who have proof, and not just moms, dads too. This isn't a gender war. It's in these parenting groups or parental alienation groups, it has become such a gender war. Moms are doing this to dads. Dads are doing this to moms. It's like, oh my gosh, like, no. Like, wicked people are doing this to good people and to innocent children. And that's where I want to keep it at. Because the focus isn't against men or against women, the focus is on the children. And that's something that I've been saying all along. I'm going into court like, when are we going to put the children's best interest first? And then you hear lawyers online talking, family court is only interested in the best interest of the children. And it's like, that's not what's happening in court. It's strange. It's disturbing. That's not the word for it. It's so beyond, because so many children are losing healthy, good parents, and even a not necessarily perfectly healthy or perfectly good parent, because we're all human, is better than not having your parent. It is proven that children have more damage from being taken away from a parent than they do being with a parent, even if that parent isn't perfectly stable. Now, I'm not to say that kids should stay in situations. Oh, that's a cool animal sound. In situations where parents are doing horrific things, because really, really horrific things do happen to children. I used to be a substance abuse counselor and manage a substance abuse program, and I can tell you that there are horrific things that happen to children sometimes. And there are situations where I do believe that children should be taken from parents. I also believe that children should be taken temporarily from coercive controllers, from alienators. I think those children still have a right to have their parent in their life and access to their parent. But until that other parent is willing to make changes and get healthy and stop using the children and start loving the children, it's not in the children's best interest to be with them. Parents do have a constitutional right to parent their own children. So that's a factor that I take into consideration. And yet, above all else, I believe that the best interest of the children is what should rule in everything. The children are what matter. I'm a parent. I've been harmed through this severely, but it's not about me. It's still not about me at the end of the day, because my choices created this for my children. And that's a responsibility that I needed to accept. That was something that, through the depths of darkness, depression, suicidal thoughts, all the things that came up last summer, through those 6 months, the one thing that kept hitting me was, take responsibility for your part. Who I was when I was 30 years old, the choices I made when I had these children, the choice of who I had these children with. The children were born into it. They didn't make a choice. And despite the reasons why, which there are reasons why I ended up in the type of marriage I did, I still was an adult and I still had choices. I still had the ability to choose, and these children didn't. And at the end of the day, their best interest and the fact that they have been harmed is absolutely the most important thing that matters. One of my children did come to the second visit. Well, my little guy, he came to every visit with me. But one of my children, my second oldest, came, and he smiled the whole time, and he hugged me, and he held me so tight. He held me so tight at the end of that visit. And then he walked out that door, and then he stopped answering my text messages and my calls. And when I'd show up at soccer, he stopped giving me a hug, and he would shake his head and look annoyed. And the influence was so obvious and so clear. And yet, how do you prove that in court? Because the judge isn't there. To be fair to the judge, she's looking at pieces of paper and listening to two people talk, and she's making a decision. And when allegations are made, if those allegations are believed right off the rip, before evidence, before evidentiary hearings, before witnesses, before anything, a bias forms. And that's human to some extent. So that's all I'm really going to say about that. But when I'm having these things happen that are just so clear and so obvious, and I can't prove that, and I don't have access to my children, and the person that's doing this has full access, I don't know if I can even express the helplessness of a mother. We have the term mama bear for a reason. Take that mama bear, put her in a cage, tie her up, and then have her watch you harm her children. So when the law that's supposed to protect you is keeping you from protecting your own children, that is beyond what my deepest fear was. It was something I didn't even know to be fearful of. And the helplessness. And then you're gagged and you're not allowed to talk about it. And people don't know if they should believe you or not. Nobody knows who to believe. It's all just, everything becomes hearsay. Nobody knows what to believe. It was August 26th. 26th or 27th? I can't even remember. I can't remember if the court date, I believe the court date was the day before, the day that, yes, it was both the 27th of 2025. It was the day that the boys went back to school. And my last visit with them was the 26th, the day before. And then the next day we had court, and they went back to school that day. And at the very last visit, I knew my second youngest was so nervous to go to a new grade. He was going into first grade. And he had already been talking about it all through kindergarten, how nervous he was to go to first grade and go upstairs. And change really makes him fearful. And I couldn't talk to him. I couldn't reach him. I saw him at that visit, and I looked at him. And he looked at me. We made eye contact, and he scooted right under his Nana's arm. He squeezed between the door frame and her leg and went right under her and came out. And he came to the visit that day. At one point during the visit, I was playing with my youngest on the ground. We were playing with toys. And my second youngest is sitting on the couch, and I look over at him, and he's just staring at me. And I don't think I'll ever forget the look on his face. He was just trying to take me in, and I could just see all of his thoughts and all of his emotions through his eyes. And he hugged me, and I told him he was going to be okay, and I reassured him about school. He had the same teacher that his older brother had, and I had already messaged her and told her how nervous he was, so I let him know I had done that. And after that, he left that visit, and he still continued to say that he didn't want to see me. Again, the truth, so crystal clear, and yet no way to prove it. September came, pre-trial happened August 27th, and it got pushed back. I didn't have everything that I was supposed to have. I don't know. He didn't have anything, but he wasn't questioned. I don't know. Family court is its own entity. It's its own stage. It's something else. I don't know. It's not something that I expected or knew how to navigate. So pre-trial was pushed back to October 20th. In September, I requested a meeting with his lawyer, and I offered him the family home with all equity. I waived retirement, waived alimony, waived a whole bunch of child support, waived the ability to claim the boys on taxes. And surprise, surprise, all 5 boys wanted to see me, and they all wanted to live with me 50-50. 50-50, that's what they all wanted. Boys that hadn't talked to me in 6 months. 2 of them hadn't talked to me at all, not once. Wouldn't say a word to me, wouldn't look at me for 6 months. All of a sudden wanted to live with me. Day after the agreement was written up, I met them at a park. I have pictures of them all smiling so big with me. Went into court with a separation agreement. I gave it up, and the judge didn't question. She questioned me. It was interesting. She asked me if I was doing it just to get my kids back. What do you say to that? Of course. I'm not giving all this up because I want to. Since October 20th of 2025, I've been in a 50-50 co-parenting situation. That's been pretty awful. I had to move next door to an apartment upstairs next to somebody that was my neighbor, now is my landlord. There's a lot to say about all that, but I think part 3, anything that comes after this, probably is gonna have to wait, because I filed for modification of orders on February 5th, and on February 14th, my second oldest got upset because I tried to discipline him for hurting his younger brother, 4 years younger than him, continuously hurting him, aggressively, like going after him. Really, really scary behavior, right? Asked him for his phone and told him to sit down at the kitchen table. Normal parenting, let's separate the children, calm down, and then talk to them. But we got to separate them and calm the air first, right? Well, unfortunately, there had been some learning along the way that normal parenting was control and abuse. So instead of sitting down in a chair and giving me his phone, he ran out of the house and ran to his dad's. And instead of his dad calling me and saying, hey, what's going on, just said his name. And this is a long video, so I'm going to probably have to edit that out, but that's okay. So if there's a break in this video, it's because I just had to edit out a name. I don't really want to put my children's name out there right now. If I do, I mean, there's nothing against it. It's better just not to mention it. So anyways, where was I? So he ran to his dad's, and his dad didn't call me. His dad didn't talk to me. His dad didn't message me. His dad put him in the car and took him to the police and filed more false allegations that I was beating him. I twisted his arm. He was checked by the police. There were no bruises, no marks. There was no redness on him at all. And police came and did a wellness check, talked to me, talked to the other adult that was present during the incident. My other 4 children were there. They were relaxed. They were calm. And it was deemed a normal parenting incident. But since February 14th of 2025, today it is April 29th of 2026. No, February 14th of 2026. Oh my goodness, I just did that. This has been emotional. I've been doing really well for how intensely emotional this is to talk about. Which is one reason why I came out into the woods to do it. Even with these little bugs distracting me. They haven't been so bad. I think it's more in my mind than anything else. So from February 14th until today, my parenting time has been withheld. I believe that it is custodial interference because you don't have to leave the state with a child. You just have to take a child from a custodial parent on their parenting time for indefinitely or for a protracted amount of time, which is the case. I do believe it's criminal at this point, although the police see it as civil and they won't get involved because the court's already involved, so they say go to the court. Well, the court takes months. Right now I'm waiting on pretrial for modification of orders, hopeful that the contempt will be heard on May 11th. And that's where the case is at. Talking about it, coming forth about it all, definitely puts the case at risk. I don't think that people who are involved like when you talk about what's going on, because when mistakes are made or when there's bias involved or any of that, it more easily can come to light. I was told right from the beginning, just be quiet, go into your house, don't talk to anyone, don't go out, don't do anything, just be quiet and say nothing. I can tell you that if I had done that, I don't know that I'd still be alive today. I don't know that I would be okay enough to care for my children. I understand the advice to be quiet. I understand what the judge and everybody prefers and requests and wants of me. And at the same time, if I'm not standing out and I'm not talking, if I'm not sharing for me and my children and I'm just hiding, I can't be the mother that my children need. And they need a mother that's healthy and stable. They need a mother that's willing to share her story because she loves herself and believes in herself. That's the type of mother that my children need. And so I'm here and I'm sharing and I'm speaking out and I'm talking about it because I'm well enough to do so. Because I'm a good mom. Because I love my children. Because I'm going to continue to do everything I need to do to stay well and stable and healthy for those 5 beautiful boys. Until next time, Jill.